Hello guys, thanks for joining me. Today I'm going to show you my deactivated Uzi, and I bought this about 10 years ago, and it's a British legal deactivation, and I thought you might be interested in having a slightly closer look at one of these weapons. I've always liked the Uzi. I first came across them back when I was living in Germany back in the 1970s. A few miles from where we lived there was a big German army base that did a lot of recruit training, and we'd often see German army convoys in the area, and they were always preceded by motorcyclists, German military police motorcyclists, and they always had a Uzi slung across their shoulders, so a pretty cool thing to see. Anyhow, I always wanted one, so I bought this one here. As I say, it's a non-functioning deactivation. There's no bolt or anything inside. It's a nice wall hanger display item. So what can I say about it? The Uzi was basically developed by a Israeli officer by the name of Uziel Gal, and he developed the Uzi back in the very late 1940s. He had a working model by about 1951. The Israelis series of testing, and it was officially adopted by the Israeli army in 1955. Interestingly, Uzi Gal is the Hebrew name that he had. He was actually born in Germany, in Weimar, and his German name was Gotthard Glass, and he moved to Palestine in the 1930s with his family, and Uzi Gal ended up being part of the Israeli underground, who were fighting against the British occupation of the Palestine and also fighting against the Arabs. He was part of the Palmach underground movement. He was actually arrested and jailed by the British in Palestine. Anyhow, the British pulled out in the 1940s, late 1940s. Israel gained its independence in, I think, 1948. And they were using a variety of European submachine guns at the time in their fight against the neighboring Arab nations. And they decided they needed a weapon of their own that they could build in country in Israel itself, and that is where the Uzi came from. As I say, they did several designs, and Uzi Gal was the winner of the competition to design a native designed submachine gun. It's a 9mm submachine gun. It fires the 9x19mm parabellum round. So a little bit about the Uzi. It's I'll compare it to a Sten and a MP40, which you guys probably know. So in comparison, the Uzi has a 10-inch barrel. It's a 10-inch barrel compared to the Sten gun, which had an 8-inch barrel, and the MP40 had a 10-inch barrel. The Uzi weighs about 8 pounds compared to the MP40, which weighs about 9 pounds, and a Sten gun weighs about 7 pounds. So it's quite a heavy submachine gun. As I say, the length of it, including the 8-inch wooden stock, is 25 inches, and that compares to 30 inches for a Sten and 32 inches for a MP40. And this particular Uzi here was made for the German military, for the Bundeswehr. It is marked MP Uzi caliber 9mm. There's a serial number. It is dated 261, so this particular item was made in February 1961, and it has the company mark of IMI, which stands for Israeli or Israel Military Industries. IMI were started in the mid-1930s, and they were producing weapons for the Israeli Jewish underground, who were fighting, as I say, against the British. So they were making guns and weapons for the underground, and after independence they became the main manufacturer for Israeli arms, and lasted up until a few years ago. They were taken over by another company, but as I say, this is the IMI made Uzi. The Uzi was also made on license in places like South Africa, Rhodesia, and Belgium. Quite a few European countries use the Uzi, both armies and also police forces. For example, the Irish police force used Uzis, but the Belgian military, the military of Luxembourg, the Dutch, and the Germans all use Uzis. And as I say, this is a Israeli-produced Uzi for the Bundeswehr. The Germans were not allowed to get Uzis from Belgium. They had to order theirs from Israel. And in total, the Germans ordered, think about just under 120,000 Uzis. And they were used from 1959 all the way up to the early 2000s. The Uzi has now been replaced in German service by the MP7. Actually quite a heavy gun. As I say, it's 9 pounds in weight, about 3.5 kilograms empty, 4 kilograms with a loaded magazine. Obviously there's no loaded magazine in this thing. So as I say, the Israelis adopted it in 1955 as their standard submachine gun, and they used it extensively up until the early 2000s. I think it was last used by Israeli Special Forces in the first decade of the 2000s. It's now no longer in frontline use with the Israelis. The Germans started the Bundeswehr in 1955, and they were looking for a new submachine gun to replace the World War II era Thompsons that they were using at the time. So they had a competition in the late 1950s, and the Uzi was one of the competitors. The Uzi actually didn't win the competition. It was the Carl Gustav 45 that won the competition, but politically motivated, they changed that and ended up getting the Uzi instead, which wasn't surprising because as early as the mid-1950s, the West German Minister of Defense did secret visits to Israel, and they assessed the weapon, and as a way of compensation for the crimes against the Jewish nation or the Jewish people in World War II, the Germans politically decided to adopt the Uzi, which was probably a good idea anyhow. I think the Uzi is a better weapon than the Carl Gustav would have been, and they used it, as I say, for over 40 years. It's now, as I say, been retired and coming onto the collector's market. This particular example here cost me about £200. They've gone up a little bit in price since then. So let's have a closer look at it. As I say, this is a Uzi produced in Israel for the German market, so it has the German letters for the automatic single-use and safety selector. So D is for Dauerfeuer, which is automatic. E is for Einzelfeuer, or single shot or repetition, and S is for sicher, which means safety or safe. There's a small Star of David mark there. The weapon is serial numbered on the barrel and the receiver on the top there. And as I said, my model is dated February 1961. There was a order for Uzis, and it was delivered in March of 1961, so I'm guessing this is one of the orders. And the Germans received 27,000 Uzis in March of 1961, so I presume that this particular example was made in March of 1961. So anyhow, that's the Uzi that I've got. As I say, it's a deactivated Uzi. But I'm just going to take it apart now, and you can show you the separate item, the separate bits and pieces. Right, as you can see, I've stripped the Deact down to its component parts. So we got the stock. As I say, it's a 8-inch wooden stock. We got the receiver, the top cover, and we got the fire control group. I've got 2 magazines to go with the Uzi. This is the magazine that came with the Deact when I bought it, It's not in very good condition, so I've replaced it with a more a better example anyhow. So we've got the fire control group here. So we've got the trigger. The trigger still moves. The rest of it doesn't. The selector switch doesn't work. The grip safety doesn't work either. It's all been soldered, as you can see. That's soldered. The actual receiver is just a sheet of metal that's been bent around by a hydraulic press and made into a cylinder box. The barrel, as you can see, has been cut down and it's been welded on the inside. It's been plugged and it's been welded into place. It can't be removed anymore. On a live firearm, you would be able to remove the cap here and pull out the barrel. And as you can see, there's no bolt in it. They've taken the bolt, cut it into a slice off the end here, and just soldered it into place here. That's the cap or the top plate. You can see the top has a ratchet system in it. So basically, it prevented accidental discharge of the weapon if you were cocking the bolt and your finger slipped. As you can see, it would have kept the bolt from slamming forward and possibly stripping a round out of the magazine and firing it. It is an open bolt weapon when it's live. So that was a safety feature insisted by the Germans. Another safety feature was the cock and lever was enlarged. The original cock and lever was about half the size of that, but again, it was too small. If you had wet fingers or mud on your hands or whatever, you could easily slip and lose traction on the wallet. So anyhow, I had a bit of a difficulty finding a sling for the Uzi. It didn't come with a sling when I bought it. I couldn't find any here in this country at all. So I ended up having to send it away to a military dealer in Israel. So again, this is a Israeli sling. It's a original Israeli army sling, which goes quite well. The Germans had Israeli slings to begin with as well, and the later slings were copies of the Israeli ones. So as I said, the magazine here came with the Deact when I bought it, and as you can see, there's a lot of pitting on it. It's been rusting or something. It's been corroding. Most of the European countries, most of the countries that use the Uzi, ended up using a 32 round magazine, which is this one here. They originally were produced and issued with 25 round magazines, which is what this one here is. It's quite nice condition here, as you can see. One difference is the 32 round magazines are double stacked, so you can see, whereas the 25 round magazines are single stacked. And they just fit into the grip. The Uzi was basically a copy of the Czechoslovakian VZ-25s that the Israelis were using, and as you can see, the center of balance is right in the middle of the hand grip there, which makes it a very easy weapon to use. A couple of last points. The magazine releases on the bottom of the grip here. You just press that and it releases a magazine. Has open sights. There's a leaf rear sight for 100 and 200 meters. And it just has an open post front sight. I forgot to say that the British Army did use the Uzi for a very, very short period of time. The British SAS used the Uzi for a short time before they used the MP5s. And that was for the CWS part of the SAS. But anyhow, there you have it, my iconic Uzi. If you grew up in the 1970s or 80s like me, you would have seen these in countless movies, anything from Schwarzenegger's 9mm Uzi to Die Hard and a million other films. So anyhow, I hope you enjoyed that. Quick thing I should say is the stock here. Most Uzis had a metal folding stock. The Germans call the Uzi with the wooden stock the MP2. And they call the Uzi with the metal stock the MP2A1. The Israeli army developed the metal stock in the late 1960s. I think it came into being in 1967. But I prefer the wooden stock. It looks, I think it looks a lot better. And I do like the combination of the wood and the metal. The Uzi is covered in a phosphorus coating, so it has a protective coating on the surface here, and it has plastic hand grips and foregrip there. So a very nice iconic deactivation there. Hope you enjoyed that video. I'll stop yapping now. As always, thanks for watching, and bye for now.